What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing another tutorial using this palette. This is the Wet n Wild, not a basic peach palette. It's one of their brand new palettes, one of their 10 pan palettes that they just released. Anyway, yeah, I did a mini review and another tutorial on this if you want to go check it out. I'll link it down below, but this is another one of my favorite looks that I've come up with using the palette. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start by priming my eyes with the Urban Decay Primer Potion Anti-Aging Formula. Then I'm going to set that using the lightest shade in the palette and a Morphe M576 brush, just packing that on pretty heavily. It's not super pigmented, but I can make it work. Then I'm going to go into that right transition shade. I'm using that same Morphe M576 brush and just building that up in my crease. Then keeping the same brush, I'm going to go into the orange shade in the palette and put that in my crease, build it up quite a bit. Just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until I'm happy with it. Once I'm happy with the pigment in that, I'm going to go to that left hand transition shade. I'm using the Real Techniques Essential Crease Brush, starting in my outer corner and dragging it to the center, not dragging it up as high as the other two shades, just intensifying the outer corner a bit. See the motions I'm using? I'm mainly just swiping inward with my brush to build that up. Then I'm going to take that e.l.f. Detail Crease Brush and that dark brown shade in the palette. This shade is a little bit harder to blend out, so I'm working as lightly as I can, but I do want that color to be concentrated right in my outer V, but almost like my outer U, because I am making like a U shape with that shadow, if you can see what I'm doing here. Just not getting too crazy dragging it in. Then I'm going to take a Morphe M506, a clean Morphe M506, and just blend that brown out, but not too much. I don't want it to be over blended. I just want to keep that brown in the outer corner, but I want it to blend seamlessly into the other shades on the edges. Then back in with that Real Techniques Essential Crease Brush and that orange shade. I'm going to use that to blend out the edges of that brown, because like I said, that brown is a little bit difficult to blend out. Not impossible, just not super easy. Then I'm going to go in with that yellow golden shade, which is an amazing shade in this palette. I love it. I'm packing that onto the empty lid space there, just trying to keep it as intense as possible, not getting too messy with it though. Then I'm actually going to go in with a wet shading brush just to build it up even more and make it more reflective on my lid. Then I'm going to take that Morphe M506 again and blend around the edges just barely. I don't want to mess up everything I've done, but I also don't want glitter all over that brown. So just barely blending that in around the edges here. Then for foundation, I'm going to use the Wet n Wild Cushion Foundation. I'm in the shade Light Ivory. It is the lightest shade in their line, I believe, last I checked, unless they've recently expanded it. Anyway, I love this foundation. It's super moisturizing, super dewy, if that's your thing. It's a good shade for me, luckily. Then for concealer, I'm going to take this discontinued Eco Tools concealer brush. I'm using Tarte Rainforest of the Sea Aquacealer in the shade Fair. Just painting that where I need it, right there on the inner part of my eye that tends to get kind of blue, right there under my eye where I don't really have super dark circles, but where there's a little bit of darkness and redness. Just smoothing that out with a beauty blender. Then I'm actually going to use that on the rest of my face to highlight just a tiny bit. I'm using it around my nose to cover up any blood vessels that want to poke through. Because that foundation isn't super full coverage, I am going to have to use that concealer to cover up some redness on my face. So my keratosis, blood vessels, anywhere I want to highlight. To set that, I'm going to use the Kat Von D blotting powder. I'm in the shade Light. This is a Real Techniques setting brush. I'm just setting anywhere that I put that concealer with a light layer. I'm not getting heavy with this powder because it is kind of dry. Then I'm going to take my Hourglass Ambient lighting powder in the shade Diffused Light and an e.l.f. highlighting brush. I'm going to set the rest of my face with that to make powder a little bit easier to blend and to brighten the areas of my face that need to be brightened, because that Kat Von D powder doesn't really brighten, it just kind of sets my concealer. This powder is actually going to be used to brighten my face up a bit. Then for bronzer, I'm going to use the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. I'm using one of their brushes from their Pro set that was released for the holidays. This isn't the one that's on their website now. This is one of the older ones. Taking that around my jawline as well. Then where I've messed up my foundation, I'm just taking concealer and touching up my redness. Then I'm taking the Tarte Amazonian Clay 12-Hour Blush in the shade Party, using the IT Cosmetics Velvet Luxe Plush Blush Brush, and applying that on my cheeks. For highlight, I'm going to use Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector in the shade Vanilla Quartz, and again with that Real Techniques setting brush, just applying that on my cheekbones and my temples, anywhere the light naturally wants to hit my face. Then I'm going to do my lower lash line. I'm going back into that right hand transition shade in the palette, and a Real Techniques Essential Crease brush. Then I'm taking that Morphe 506 tapered blending brush. I'm going to take that left hand transition shade and I'm blending that on my lower lash line as well, but mainly concentrating it on my outer corner. Anything that's left over on my brush, I'll just like drag it inward, but for the most part I'm keeping that on the outer corner and I'm working on my shape. I'm using that shade to shape my eye look. Going back and forth with it quite a bit because I want to make sure that my shape and everything is correct and they match on both sides. Then I'm taking that e.l.f. Detail Crease Brush back into that matte brown shade. Gonna connect that brown on top with the brown on the bottom. Just go kind of full circle with that brown shade, but just keeping it right on the outer part. I'm not dragging it too far in. I don't want it to come in too far past that gold. Then I'm just going to take that M506 brush and blend that out. Don't have to use a whole lot of that brown. Go in with a little bit of it and then use another clean brush to blend it because it is intense. To highlight, I'm going to use the lightest shade in the palette. This is the same shade I used to set my eye. Now this, like I said, is not super pigmented, so I'm just going to get as best that I can. I'm just going to get it as best I can with the brush and then go in with my finger and try to brighten up that inner corner a bit. For brows, I'm going to use my NYX Micro Brow Pencil as per usual, and I'm going to go back and forth. I'm going to start with the outer tail of my brow, and I'm just going to go back and forth with my brow pencil between my eyes. So I do a little bit on one eye, I do a little bit on the other, and then I just go back and forth with it, to make sure that they match along the way. I don't drag it too far inward. Then I'm taking Colourpop Mr. Bing eyeliner, and I'm going to line my waterline with that, upper and lower. For mascara, I'm actually going to layer 2 mascaras. The first one I'm going to use is the Essence Lash Princess False Effect Mascara, both upper and lower lashes. Then to separate those a bit, I'm going to use the Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara, just to add a little bit of volume to my lashes. For lipstick, I'm going to use Kat Von D's Everlasting Liquid Lipstick in the shade Lolita. I wanted to use this because it matched my outer corners a bit. It seemed to tie in with the eye look in that sense. And here is the finished look, guys. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber and you would like to be, hit the subscribe button on your way out, and I'll see you next time. Peace out, guys.